crucial skill that you have to develop if you want to improve your chess is spotting the weak squares in your opponent's camp. Now, from a recent tournament that I played, I managed to do this really well. So I wanted to show you the game so you can learn from it and also use it for your own games. There's a crucial fact that you need to understand when trying to find weak squares. And I will get to it in just a moment. Let's just go through the opening here. It was the English opening. We went with d4, of course, pressuring the center. Black could have played, I don't know, e4, defending the pawn, but he decided to take it on d4 and gain a tempo on our queen, which is usually good, but now we can just move our queen here with a check, and after queen to a7, develop our bishop. Now we're not worried about him taking the queen, because it also develops our bishop, which is good for us. So black played knight f6, developing, we played knight to c3, and now a dubious move, knight to b4. Now, this is just a simple trick, trying to jump to c2 with the knight and give us a nasty check. But after we defend this threat, the knight on b4 is just not doing anything. And is going to get kicked away with a3. Now, when he goes back, we played knight h3. Now, this move might surprise some people because they think the knight should go to f3. From where it controls the center and it's a great piece. Now on the edge, the knight doesn't control as many squares since there's no I file here. So yeah, it seems a bit strange, but the knight is actually going to go to f4. Now let me show you what I mean. After black develops the bishop, we play knight f4. The knight, as many of you I'm sure see, is going to this nice d5 square, from where it attacks the queen, and it's also a really nice piece on the 5th rank, attacking also some pawns, and it's really a dangerous piece. So at the moment you might say that a weak square is this d5 square here, because we attack it with a lot of our pieces, and it's not easy for black to just kick our pieces out of there, since he can't play c6 attacking our pieces, because his d6 pawn would then be weak, and also the knight is in the way. So at the moment there's a weak square on d5 that we can use. Now black played g6. Of course he has to somehow develop his bad bishop here on f8, so this move seems reasonable. He's going to put it on g7 and, you know, castle and have a nice game. But what is the problem? Guys, try to figure out what this move does to black's position. Well, I'm sure you got it. It weakens the dark squares around the king here, because if we somehow don't let black play bishop to g7 and castle, his squares are going to be really weakened and we could just attack him on these squares. So the thing that I was talking about earlier, about the crucial fact when trying to see which squares are weak, is pawn structure. You need to take a look at which squares the pawns are protecting and which squares the pawns aren't protecting. And in this case, you can clearly see that these pawns are protecting the light squares, but no pawns are protecting the dark squares here. So that's why we can use that as white and gain an advantage. So here we played knight to d5. Immediately, we are not going to castle and give black time to develop. Immediately, knight to d5, attacking the queen, and when he takes our knight, we take it back, and the queen now can't move to some squares here to protect the king because we already have this nice fork with the knight. So the queen has to go to d8, but still, there's a problem, a big problem on the dark squares. We would like to play something like b4 and bishop to b2 and be active on this diagonal, but playing b4 is a bit slow since it allows black to play bishop to g7, solving the problem of the weak squares around the king. So we need to act faster. We need to play queen to c3, immediately attacking the rook here on the dark squares. And as you can see, black can't really defend it easily. He can't play bishop to g7 because we're just gonna take it. If he plays rook here, of course, we play knight f6. The dark squares in his camp are not well protected, so we can just give him a check and, you know, just take the rook and be an exchange up in a winning position. So this is not good. That's why the only move that black chose in this position was knight e5, blocking the path of our queen. But of course, why would we keep it blocked if we can open it? We can play f4. The only square for the knight to move to also protect the rook is f7. But still, the problem is not solved. We have two active pieces looking at the opponent's dark squares here. The knight, of course, can just jump to f6, making sure the black's king never castles again and is always in danger until the rest of the game. So here what we should do is we should play b4, adding another deadly attacker on these dark squares. What can black even do? I mean, he's in a terrible position. His rook is out of the game, his queen is not doing anything here, his pieces are kind of stuck here, his dark squares are really bad, his king is in the center, so he has to somehow try to develop. He played bishop to c6, since we were also pressuring this pawn, but it's highly irrelevant in this position. Now guys, already we have a spectacular attack on the dark squares, so I want you to pause the video and try to figure it out. Okay guys, if you're ready, I'm going to show you the solution, and the idea is to use the weak dark squares, even at the expense of sacrificing a piece. You know, we want to move the black's king to a dark square and then attack him on these dark squares. So here, after queen to e3, it's a brilliant sacrifice, because the king can't go anywhere here because of the knight, so he kind of has to take the knight, and now bishop to b2 check. Look at this. The queen is not allowing the king to escape. He can't go anywhere. The bishop is absolutely destroying him on these dark squares here. So he just has to give up the piece back. And now we of course take it, and after he goes back, because if he recaptures it, of course guys, we're gonna take the pawn here, and you know, the rook is going to fall and it's going to be just over for black. So that's why he moves back, and now e6. Opening up the weak dark diagonal again. And after he moves there with the king, what do we do, guys? Do we take the rook here, or do we do something else? I'm sure you can see it, guys. The rook here is absolutely not worth more than the bishop, as it usually should be. But now it's kind of stuck in the corner, it's not doing anything. The bishop is a monster piece, so it's much better than the rook. That's why we don't take the rook, of course, but we play a move such as queen to d4 here. And now, what is black going to do? How is he going to defend the threat of mate? I mean, if he does something, we're just gonna mate him on the next move. He can't play bishop to g7, it's again mate, so whatever he does, he's going to get mated. He can take the bishop, and now checkmate. So the crucial thing when we want to understand which squares are weak in the opponent's camp and when do they become weak is when opponent moves a pawn and the pawns in the opponent's camp are not attacking or protecting one color squares here. Like you saw when black played g6 here, all of a sudden he's not protecting any dark squares around his king. A move earlier, he was protecting the dark squares efficiently with his g-pawn, and after he moved it to g6, now these squares have become really weak, as you saw in the example game. So what does this mean? In your games, you should be careful to look at what your opponent is doing. You know, if they move the pawn, don't just be like, okay, they moved the pawn, it's nothing. Think about the consequences of moving this pawn and what possibilities does he give you. I hope this video was useful, and if it was, please like it, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.